in this part, in part 2, we are going to focus on elements. But before we focus on elements, I want to actually kind of review a figure that we had earlier. What are elements? Putting it in perspective. So one of the things we talked about, and you probably have a sense of, is that all matter is made up of atoms. And we'll be talking more about what an atom is. I love atoms. And that all matter then has mass and occupies space. And matter then, actually, we can kind of look at it with this kind of logic tree sort of thing. If the chunk of matter that you're pointing to is a pure substance, okay, we have two options coming up. Okay, alternatively, the chunk of matter that you're pointing to is actually just what we call a physical mixture. It's a mixture that where two or more substances, two or more pure things have just been physically tossed together. That's P-U-R-E. And like this says, to untoss them, actually we can just kind of physically separate them back into their two or more pure substances. So I want to focus on what a pure substance is then. It must mean that it's got the same repeating unit. Now, if that repeating unit is just only one type of element, if it's solid copper, or if it's solid silver, or if it's solid hydrogen, then we call that chunk of matter an element. You're probably already familiar, and we'll talk more about this in this short kind of look at chemistry. Compounds are great because they have two or more they have atoms of two or more different elements that are stuck together in a repeating unit. So, for example, a compound, water is a compound, H2O. It has two hydrogens and one oxygen that are stuck together in that repeating unit. And as this slide says, or the figure says, you can actually go back and forth. You can go from elements into compounds by building them up with a chemical reaction. You can also use a chemical reaction to tear them down from compounds back into their individual elements. So one more look at what's the deal with regard to mixtures, two or more substances, pure substances that are just physically kind of tossed together. I kind of think of like a salad. Salad is an example of a mixture. We have lettuce, tomatoes, onions, bacon. Okay, those are all individual things that are just physically tossed together. In that salad, we can pick them back out into their own little piles if we wanted to. But with regard to mixtures, we have, if it's the same throughout, so this is well mixed. Okay, so no matter where you go in that sample, you're going to get the same relative amount of your things that you've tossed together. To me, an example of a salad actually is a heterogeneous mixture, and where it is not the same throughout, not well mixed, not the same throughout.